Hi, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in to Eco El Paso's 13th annual conference for 2020. And the focus this year is sustainability during a pandemic. And today we've got another great speaker. Fernando Berjano is coming with us today with some knowledge coming from the city of El Paso, Texas. And he's going to talk to you a little bit about the projects he's working on with the city and maybe some other cool stuff you'll learn along the way. But I'll pass this off to Fernando and let you make your introduction. Take it from there.
Thank you, Shelby. So I'm Fernando Berjano with the city of El Paso. I'm the sustainability coordinator for the city, and I work on all things related to sustainability. So I love everything that is being presented with the conference with Shelby and all the El Paso team. And today we're going to talk about urban heat island and urban heat island effect in El Paso and what we've been doing and what we plan to do to that effect. So if you need to ask anything, just interrupt me, or we can wait until the end, whatever you want. Hopefully we have a conversation, not a speech here.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna go and share a presentation that I have ready, but please be free to interrupt me whenever you want. You should be seeing the presentation. Is that you seeing the presentation?
Yes,
okay, I'm gonna put it on presentation mode. And this is a project that we started working on in March, February, March this year, as part of a NOAA and NIHSIS grant program to develop maps for urban heat in the US. So we were approached by UTAP, our colleagues from the Center of Inter-American Border Studies, to see if we were interested in this type of project. We were obviously being heat a huge stressor here in El Paso, and also being part of our resilience strategy, one of the actions that we wanted to tackle with that strategy. So we collaborated with UTAP, Eco El Paso, the Medical Center of the Americas, and other partners here in El Paso to put together the proposal, and we were selected to do this study. So we were happy to do that, and I'm going to show the results of that study that was developed by Kappa Strategies, a consultancy firm from Portland. So I'm going to show you the results, which it's basically high resolution maps for temperature and humidity for El Paso. So what we did, we engaged with the community, with those groups that I mentioned, for the most part with engineering and social studies students from UTAP. We were able to work with 41 volunteers on this project. So with these maps, we're gonna be able to understand the relationship between urban environment, non-developed environment, and the ecosystems that we have here in El Paso and the infrastructure that we have. So how this worked, this project, the volunteers were divided into 12 teams that drove around on predetermined routes in 12 different sections of the city at 6 in the morning, 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. on July 10th. And they drove the route for an hour, collecting more than 65,000 data points with the sensors mounted on their either their bikes, because we have bike routes too, or their car windows. So that's how we collected the data, and that data was sent to the consultants for the analysis. And this is we're gonna see the results now. So here you can see the results for the 6 a.m. Data collection. As you can see,
wow,
6 6 a.m. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and
El
these,
Paso, man.
remember that these are volunteers. So we are very, very grateful for their help. So obviously we don't have 41 people on the sustainability team in El Paso. So we wouldn't have been able to do this without them. So, and here you can see very clearly, obviously the red is the hottest and the bluish is the coldest. And you can see that the closer you get to undeveloped areas, the colder the area gets. So that's to be expected. And then you can clearly see the big transport corridors with I-10 and the freeway coming from the northeast, and even Mesa Street on the west side of the city. So we see what we expected, and you can see obviously by the river,
Sure.
the blue area, because obviously that's where we have the river, but with that we have more trees, right?
Yeah.
So it's obvious what happens there.
And what I meant by 6 a.m. is look how hot it is already at 6 a.m. Let
Yes, and
alone,
this
that's crazy.
and that's a good point, Shelby. So the date was selected to reflect the hottest conditions that we could, and that was done with the help of the National Weather Service in Santa Teresa in New Mexico, and they were another great partner in this project. So, and another cool thing that we did, we Las Cruces was also selected for this project. So we talked with them and we agreed on doing the campaign the same day. So now we have two of the big cities here other than Juarez with the heat data for the same day, the same year, and that could bring some research
It's awesome.
and nice analysis in the future.
Like an army of sensors and people out there. That's so cool.
Yes, and just as a, I mean, just to let you know, Las Cruces was a little bit hotter than El Paso by 2 or 3 degrees. So just anecdote or not anecdote, we'll see. But that's what happens. And these here, I just wanted to show these are the routes. So with these routes, the consultants were able to combine this data with land use data and do the analysis to get the actual maps for the whole surface of El Paso. So these are the routes that the volunteers did and the actual data. Here you can see the map for the afternoon 3 p.m. Shift. And again, I mean, you might think this is colder, but it's just the red is now extremely hot, up to 110 degrees, and then the blue is almost 100. So don't be misled by that. It's extremely hot, and again, you can see a little bit of red on I-10, quite some red up on the northeast, and the area closer to the mountains, you can see that tries to stay cold, but it's almost 100 degrees. And you can clearly see Ascarate Park as well,
Sure.
down there.
It's never good when your low temperature is 97.
Yes. I mean, it's 3 p.m. on July 10th.
Sure.
So
yeah, makes sense though. Makes sense.
Makes sense. So, and this is the evening. Still, this is, we don't know. We need to do some analysis, obviously, and we hopefully get our partners from Utah to help us out with this and other organizations. But you can clearly see that on the east side, on the south part of the map, it's where the heat appears to be more extreme at this time of the day.
Yeah,
Why?
that's what it looks like. Yeah.
I couldn't tell right now. If any of you have any idea, I'd be happy to discuss it. But it's a trend that you cannot miss in this map.
Yeah, makes you wonder how many trees are in that area.
Yes, exactly. Or why that? I don't know. I don't know, because it's not a pattern that we saw on the two previous maps, right? And this is you can see on the picture. This is a cool picture. That's one of the volunteers that is actually a NOAA fellow from UTEP. And that's the sensor that they mounted on their windows. And that little white piece on top is the sensor itself. And then the wind comes through that piece and collects the temperature and humidity data that it's stored on the other white piece that is attached to the window. So what we're planning to do with this, because these are nice maps, and but what we want to use them for planning to make El Paso more sustainable and less hot. So the obvious the first thing we did, obviously, we talked to our department, IT department, and they're working on integrating this data, that are open data, into our GIS, into our GIS website, so we can do some analysis with our layers that we have, and it's available for all El Pasans as well. So in terms of health, so we're gonna talk with the Extreme Weather Task Force next year, early next year, to see if this data is helpful to are helpful to plan for cooling centers, for health related actions for next summer. So that's on the health part. We, as part of this project, we also got a grant from NatBank, for the North American Development Bank, to do some outreach. So we're planning to do some workshops for outreach with the community, with UTEP. We hope to do those in person. So we're holding a little bit what happens with COVID. If not, we'll do them next year remotely, but we hope to be able to do those in person. And that collaboration with NatBank was great. We were able to give a small stipend to a small amount of money to our volunteers for gas and their time. So from the city side, so what are we trying, or what are we planning to do? So obviously we want to use this data set for transportation and green infrastructure planning. So where should we focus those actions to alleviate heat in El Paso, or where should we plan to, I don't know, partner up with Eco El Paso and the Million Trees El Paso, and see what makes sense or what doesn't make sense. Or even with the schools, right, Shelby? So we can talk to the school districts and tell them, hey, you might want to take some action here, so the kids have a cooler path to the schools from their homes. All those things.
Yeah, I think we talked about that. That's, I think, Fernando, you and I discussed a while back, like, how cool would it be if every street that's leading, north, south, east, west, coming in, hitting a school, what if every single one of those sidewalks was shaded with trees?
Even
all the environmental stuff, but besides that, the kids could walk in a shade, and and when it's brutal.
Yeah, and grandpa and grandma can walk with the kids, right?
Everybody. Yeah, go running, go walking.
And then the from the social and economic perspective, we are going to do an analysis with the CDC's vulnerability index to see if there is any correlation between heat and income, or heat and this type of neighborhood, or that type of neighborhood. So that's something that we're gonna do with our IT department, and obviously I'm hoping to that some of our colleagues from UTEP get on board with that. And what other things we can do? I think we can do as many things as we think of, right? It's a great planning tool, we think, and and just the limit is the time and resources. But we're gonna do our best to use this data to address heat and health and inequalities in El Paso.
Nice.
So what are the things we can do? Obviously, cool roofs, cool roadways. There is new materials, new ways of doing pavements and resurfacing the streets, and we are going to look into that as well. So is there an option to do a pilot or to test new materials, new ways of doing pavement in El Paso so we can mitigate heat? So all those good things we are planning to do, and that's all I had. We were
Sure.
again. I want to stress the how grateful we are with our volunteers and our partner organizations for their help and support. And from UTEP that we were able to do kind of a drive-through type of delivering the sensors because of COVID, and they very gratefully let us do that at UTEP, to the National Weather Service at Santa Teresa that were daily calling us and letting us know the conditions, and
Nice.
um, and retired people here in El Paso that decided to be a volunteer as well. So we really helpful for that.
Yeah, I think some of our board members, they told me about it, and they put it on their
Yes.
window and drove around certain times of day. And yeah, it just sounded really cool, like a little bunch of little bees out there collecting information, bringing it back. But yeah, it's
Mhm.
really, really cool because I think that, gosh, if you think about the miles of roads and sidewalks that could be cool, and the millions of square footage of flat roofs that could go white. Um, and they're even talking about new paints coming out that could even reflect heat in the future. So you could repaint your house, make it look pretty and nice, but also be even more reflective to the heat. Because it
Yes.
seems like all of this saves people money. It'll save the city money. It'll save residents money and make a
Yeah, we
better
haven't.
quality of life.
You are correct, Shelby. We haven't even talked about the implications on energy demand, right? And energy consumption when heat is radiating from the surface. So there are many things we can do with this.
Yeah, at the
And
micro level, you could be a homeowner and just think if your house is 10 or 15 degrees cooler because you installed 5 trees and maybe didn't put 100% rocks in your front yard.
yes,
Maybe you put like dirt walkways with like shrubs that grow across the rocks and block the rocks from absorbing as much heat. There's just so
yeah,
many like landscape architect things you could do, along with tree cover and like you said, cool roofs and roads. But you could save $20-$30 a month, that adds up, but then you scale out to the whole city doing that.
mhm.
What if that means not turning on a power plant or not building a power plant, which is what I'm hoping we get to do too.
Yeah, and exactly right. So you might not have the resources to do a full blown retrofit at home, but maybe switch the rocks from mulch or a plant here, a plant there, a tree. Um,
Yeah,
you can
a tree
either,
doesn't take up a lot of space, but gosh, it can shade a lot of
yes,
your property.
and it's fun,
Yeah, and
right?
it's, I mean, come on, it's a tree. I climbed
Yeah,
trees my whole life. I probably would
yeah.
now if I could. Yeah,
Now,
it's just fun. I've just never heard, it seems like out of all the programs we've run, between focusing on solar and focusing on green building and architecture, seems like everyone has gravitated to trees. And so I think it's a good opportunity for the city because I think it can affect the urban heat island effect in a great way. Um, Before you do roofs and roads, gosh, we could just increase our environment, higher quality, um, increases the beauty, right, and the curb appeal of your home if you're going to sell it. And if you're there, I just think, gosh, even if it shades your home for part of the day, it's going to reduce the heat and reduce the AC unit and reduce your bills. So I think whether you're doing it for the environmental reasons or not, there's a huge financial implication for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. Um, so yes, and I let me share you with you all another document. I cannot what I did.
I'm curious. So you guys might find all the right areas. You might locate the lowest hanging fruit so we can make immediate change in El Paso. But other than the roads and the things that you own as a municipality, right, which we're very thankful that you guys are going that route. I think that's awesome. But do you think that the city or the utility, do you think there's opportunities for incentives to get builders to ensure that they're building the right types of homes, putting in the right types of landscaping into brand new neighborhoods that they're developing? So this is less of an issue even before anyone moves into their home. Do you think that that's on the forecast between a utility or the city having any incentives for homeowners or builders to really push them that direction? No, it's not
that's
your
a good,
department, but
yeah, that's a
I didn't
good
know if,
question. That's something that obviously, as you mentioned, we would need to engage with the developers. That they would be one of the main actors here.
sure,
And I think we the best way, not the ways, but one of the ways to do that would be through green infrastructure, meaning
sure,
because GI it encompasses so many things, right? And one of the things is trees and plants and water collection and water catchment
yeah,
and heat mitigation. So I think the city's been doing and the private sector some very good projects on green infrastructure, small projects, but very good projects, like the Playa Trail drain,
yeah.
the bio trails there.
We're actually doing a
Um,
grant there right now with the Playa drain over in the Thomas
yes,
Manor
so,
neighborhood. And we're actually I will be digging holes this weekend and installing
okay,
trees we sent out about 300 or 400 mailers and we got some back, and I'm going to go knock on their neighbors' doors. And we're also going to be installing benches at the bus stops around there. One of the individuals who's putting a tree up complained, there's really no benches over there. It doesn't make sense to have it at a bus stop. So we're going to put in a bench and we're going to put in more trees to shade the bench.
that's
Uh,
great.
yeah, so it's cool that you guys are looking in neighborhoods that we're already kind of working in so we can tap into it. And so do you think that this organization that's doing with the consultants, is there like a post project in the future where they're going to run more of these sensors out again after we do some projects and drill down in some certain areas to test, or is that on the horizon maybe?
That's something that could be, I mean, we just had a meeting last week with them and the other, because they did this campaign in almost 20 cities this summer.
Oh, wow.
And this is something that NOAA wants to keep doing.
Gotcha.
So
Good.
there might be some options for more looking into specific areas or simulations with what would happen if we did this.
Yeah.
What
Or
would
every
happen
three
if,
years, do another set of sensors and watch
yes,
the temperatures, especially as temperatures go up, watch the surface temperatures go down. That would be really, or
yes.
zero in every couple of years on a certain neighborhoods to see how we're affecting it. It's so cool that we can just get the data. I think that's so important.
Yeah, and the data, I just wanted to stress out that is public data and the report is public, the
Is it on your
GIS map.
website?
Not yet, not yet.
Okay.
We are working on that. I'll share with you the report and the link in case you wanna share it with the community.
Yeah, we'll post it on our website and so we have
And
that. And do you have another document you wanted to show us?
yeah, but I don't know what I did, Shelby. I'm here in like a small type of thing. How do I go to the?
Oh, you might need to change which screen you're sharing if you're sharing a different screen. You need to go to share screen and choose a
I
different
can.
one.
I just see you and the other four gentlemen. The other two. I'm not. Okay, let's stop sharing. Let me
Yeah,
share the new one.
sure.
Uh, where is this? Oh, okay.
There we go.
So screen, you seeing it?
Yeah,
Screen,
the map with the heat watch El Paso results.
this one? Yes.
Kappa.
So this is a web app, and you can use the layers and go to all the, and this is what I wanted to show you because
Oh wow.
we haven't seen the bike results, which are pretty cool. Let
Oh
me see.
wow, cool. So you drove near the trails. That's nice.
Um,
And this is an app you said you can download like to your phone or like to your
this is
computer,
just a browser,
a browser site.
RGIS, RGIS
Yeah.
app, and that's, you can use it, and we can go, I don't know, we can go to, let's go to my office, and we can see what happens there. And this is what I wanted to show you. On the Segundo Barrio and downtown, that's where we rode our bikes, and you can see it's a different scale of colors, but
Sure.
it's the same idea. The darker, the hotter, right?
Sure.
So with this app, you can go to a specific location and work with the layers and see if it makes sense to do this and that, or do further analysis.
Nice.
So this is public. Then the
So
ArcGIS
arcgis.com.
itself, if you had a license, you can um, import this data set into your maps and into
Oh,
your,
nice.
so all
Great.
that is
Wait, we
available.
can like upload it to like a Google map or like another mapping program we have?
That I don't know. I'm
Okay.
not an expert in that. I know that they've worked with ArcGIS,
Gotcha.
and
Cool.
that's
That's good to know that
that's
it's open data.
yeah.
We'll definitely share this link,
I'll send you
arcgis.com.
the.
Yeah, we'll
I'll
post it.
send you everything.
Nice. Well, this is great. Well, and I'm glad that you're looking at Segundo Barrio, the downtown area. Obviously, there's a lot of people that work downtown and walk around downtown. So it'd be great to shade more of downtown. Plus, it just looks really nice anyway for tourists to come visit us and walk around the ballpark and actually see trees down there instead of just concrete buildings and big parking lots everywhere. So I'm hoping we can integrate this, with the city, and we can integrate this with commercial businesses and especially most with residential communities. This is really cool data.
Yeah,
It'll it'll help us
that's a
drive
good
our
point,
program
Shelby.
like Million Trees El
So
Paso. It'll really help us digitally see where the city might be most vulnerable without even having to talk to the people. We can just kind of see it, right? Which is really nice.
yes, and you can, exactly, you can play around and do whatever you want to do with it.
Well,
And
cool.
that's a good point. You said with the private sector, you may have a business and you want to make it more attractive, right? And
Sure.
then you can
More
see, okay,
sustainable.
yeah, sustainable. And again, being a business, you want to save money, right? You
Yeah,
get some
and it's
shade.
interesting timing, right? We're all in our homes more. COVID pandemic is here. They say best case scenario, even if we had a perfect vaccine, if that it won't get out probably across the whole U.S. until the end of Q4, which is like now next year, all the way through Christmas time, right? So the more time you spend at home, I hope people are paying attention. I think people are looking around more. I think people are seeing more. They're outside. I think people are walking outside more than they probably used to before, right? Because they're stuck at home. There's not a lot to do. And maybe you're noticing it's really hot at 4 o'clock walking on a sidewalk in your street and there are no trees, but everyone built a driveway in their front yard to park more cars, which is just concrete, and a metal car radiating heat at night. And then hopefully it'll, push people to maybe change their landscape in their front and backyard to reduce heat, which again will reduce bills. So I'm hoping that, the average homeowner, all the way up through nonprofits in the city, it seems like we can all do something here um, to reduce the heat, which will ultimately reduce our bills. So,
Yeah,
really great
to-
info.
totally agree.
Awesome. Well, I know that we do have a couple of people online, so I'll just throw it out there. If anyone does have any questions, Fernando does work with the city of El Paso, and he was intimately involved in this project and knows a lot about it. But figured while he's here, if you do want to come off of mute, you want to ask him any questions, or you want to ask about Eco El Paso or our Million Trees program that might be a part of this somehow.
Sure. Thanks, Shelby. Fernando, I don't know if you remember me.
Yes, I do. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Yes. Shelby mentioned that you were doing this lecture today, and I just didn't make the connection. I didn't think I knew you. But once I saw your face, I was like, hey, that's Fernando, the Fernando. But yeah, so Fernando, I wanted to just throw out a term. It's called biophilia. And are you familiar with that?
No, sir.
Yeah, so basically it's just a method or a concept where you try to tie in the outside environment with the inside environment. And you can do that, with some strategies that use natural planners. And I believe from studies that can also help cool down spaces, and obviously, increase, people's comfortability in terms of, seeing out the outside environment on the inside, and feel, just, change their mood, basically, because we all look for ways to get more light and viewing the natural habitat is what I'm trying to get.
Yes.
But the other thing I wanted to mention is this is pretty interesting. First of all, thanks for sharing that public website. I just jumped on it, and you're right. It's a great resource tool if a business or a company wanted to do some planning and figure out, how the environment ties into whatever they're building in order to either go the sustainable route or at least consider it and understand, what their challenges would be. So thank you for that.
Seems like there's an opportunity there, right? With the businesses that they could all paint their parking lots, put up green roofs.
Yeah, and even when you're looking at the requirements, the code requirements for vegetation, right? So obviously businesses and residential facilities need to comply, but with this tool, you can, does it make sense to plant the tree here or there?
Absolutely.
So yeah. It's not just about complying with the code. It's just making sense of the code, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Passive solar homes with the roofs in the right location, the right types of roofs, the right color of roof. Gosh, you think about all the parking lots that businesses own all over the city that they could put that white reflective or cool paint right over the surface of the parking lots. Think how many millions and millions of square feet that won't be radiating heat on the customer's cars, on the customer themselves, and on the physical building. Now they got to jack up their AC unit, right? So now the company's even, losing more money because they're having to run their AC unit longer. It just seems like these are all no-brainer things, right? We just got to put together all the dots, it seems like. But it's cool that the data is there to show it, that we can physically, show someone a map where their business or their home is.
Fernando, you mentioned a little bit about the code. The one thing I notice in new construction around here is that the code, I've looked at the code as well, but what I've noticed is that the code says, okay, you have to plant, a certain amount of tree. It's not specific enough to tell the developer or the contractor, this specific type of tree needs to go in this specific zone of the city, based off of what you just showed us in terms of the urban heat island effect. that's in that area. And I think that's a big thing. I mean, yeah, you can go in and plant a suckling, you know, fine, but is it the right suckling?
Mhm.
And I think the
Yes.
code could better address that, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and that goes back to what Shelby was mentioning in terms of requirements and getting the developer community involved in these conversations, right?
Right.
I know Paso, they have some resources on their website about what types of trees you want to plant in El Paso. I know
Yeah.
El Paso Water has good resources for that as well. So they have a good selection of native plants and trees that you want to go with when you are trying to have a nice garden or yard, or you just want to mitigate heat. So yes, I agree with you, Rajan. So the code could be more specific. That's for future conversations with developers and the private and public community as a whole.
Yeah, but if anything, it could be a re-education to developers that we can give without spending any more money. If you're going to plant 5 trees, well, let us help you plant the right 5 trees in the right places, and it won't cost you any more money as a developer. It'll just slight change of thought process and placement, but they can literally probably do it with the same budgets that they have now, right? So much easier for them to maybe put in a few trees than the best windows, doors, and insulation in a house. But maybe a couple of trees doesn't cost a lot and can still make a big impact. Although we want both, and, you know, it's still nice that if we can just, because I think if we can start with the place where there's not a lot of investment and that they'll see the rewards, I think that's important for developers to see, right? When I go to them saying put solar on every house, they just, oh, well, it's added expense, people can't afford it. But I think that's not just solar, right? It's literally the direction that you build your house.
Yeah, the orientation of your
Orientation of everything, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
where you put a window, where you don't. You put all the windows western facing, southwest facing in El Paso? Probably not. It's going to get blasted all day long. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's, and again, that doesn't cost more money. It's just literally how you design and where you place things.
Yeah, and again, these types of projects and tools, they're very powerful in terms of outreach and education. So that's another component that, I mean, I've been talking about the project nonstop since we got the results. So
Yeah,
we want to put it out there, and sometimes, yeah, we all know that El Paso is hot, but you just don't realize how hot.
yeah,
We don't see that we've had, I think the average days with more than 100 degrees for the last set of data for El Paso was around 16, and we are now around 40 to 50 days a year.
every year.
So,
Yeah,
so
getting
it was
worse.
we know it was very hot, but now it's very hot, much longer, right?
Yeah, and there's some
So,
local journalists that actually put together a line graph of that, how many 100 days plus per year in El Paso. And it's just a clear, straight upward shot. So it's not, do we need to mitigate? It's how are we going to mitigate? And are we going to wait till it's too late, or are we going to start doing it? So I was really happy when you actually told me this was happening, and we got board members involved. And I thought this was so cool that that the city was taking this on. So I hope that we can continue. And if you do have questions, anyone who's watching this later, if you have questions about trees, check out our Million Trees El Paso program, sign up for a free tree, help us, you know, greenify your neighborhood, and line your streets with trees that are native, that belong in El Paso, that use the least amount of water, and provide what we're looking for out here. But we're not the only resource. There's West Texas Urban Forestry Council. There's Texas A&M Forestry Council. There's the National Forestry Council. So please don't just go to Home Depot and buy a random tree. I think it's important to buy from the local tree farmers and local nurseries, but also make sure it's drought tolerant and that it belongs in the desert and we'll use the least amount of water. I think that's huge. Let's not just put a bunch of oak trees all over town. That won't work. So that's my little disclaimer, I guess, to save water. But, well, if there's not any other questions, you can always, if you think of anything, please email me. I'll get them to Fernando and try to get you answers. We will try to put this video out later today. We'll try to have more events on the urban heat island effect and how the basic citizen or homeowner can do things on their own as well. But thank you, Fernando. Thank you. I'm glad the city allowed you to speak today. This project was awesome. I'm glad you guys took it on as a city. But yeah, I just want to say thank you for presenting and showing us the websites and all the data. We'll definitely be digging into it.
Of course. Thank you, Shelby. Thank you, Eco El Paso. And nice seeing you, Rajan.
Same here, Fernando.
I'm glad.
Good seeing you
Well,
again.
hopefully we'll all do this face-to-face at next year's conference. But thank you again, everyone. Again, we're a volunteer nonprofit, Eco El Paso. Again, my name is Shelby Ruff. I'm the president of the board for Eco El Paso. And we look forward to hopefully seeing you all in person someday in the future. Thank you.